Hello, my name is Denise, and today I'm going to be sharing one of the most significant and personal stories of my life, how I became cancer-free. My journey was far from easy, but by sharing my experience, I hope to offer hope and inspiration to others facing similar battles. After multiple rounds of chemotherapy and radiation that didn't yield the results I was hoping for, I made a life-changing decision to pursue a very unconventional treatment known as Fenbendazole, or Fenben for short. In this video, I will walk you through my exact protocol, how I discovered this alternative treatment, and how I used it to achieve NED status. No evidence of disease. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer back on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving in 2020. I think anyone who's ever faced cancer can vividly remember the exact moment that their world shifted. For me, it happened after a routine mammogram. I had always dealt with cystic breasts, so I had been accustomed to being told everything would be fine and it's simply a benign cyst. But this time it was different. I got the call from my doctor and he said it was cancer and that it had spread to my lymph nodes. My initial reaction, of course, was shock, disbelief. I couldn't believe it, fear. But thankfully, I had and still have a great support system. My partner, Kevin, my daughter, Christina, my good friends, all played a huge role in helping me stay positive throughout my journey. It was during this time that my ex-husband and his wife, Annette, told me about Fenben. So Annette's mother had lung cancer that metastasized to her brain. And after being given only 6 months to live, she tried Fenben, inspired by the story of Joe Tippins, who is a man who successfully treated his terminal cancer with Fenben, this dog dewormer. Initially, I thought, no way, this seems too far-fetched. I thought it was a crazy idea. So I decided to go the traditional route with my doctors, chemotherapy, radiation. I wish I could go back in time and have started the Fenben then, because Annette's mom achieved NED status and she is still cancer-free 4 years later. Joe Tippins has been cancer-free since 2017. But being newly diagnosed, it just seemed too crazy, to treat cancer with a dog dewormer. So initially, my treatment included 16 weeks of chemotherapy, in which I lost all of my hair, of course, devastating. And then I did 6 weeks of radiation. After that, it seemed like the cancer was gone, and I resumed my routine yearly mammograms. I was relieved to be back on track. However, that sense of relief was short-lived because in November of 2022, almost 2 years exactly to the date, I got the heartbreaking news that my cancer had returned. Not only had it returned, it had metastasized to my bones. So now it is stage 4 incurable cancer. Hearing that my cancer was now incurable was beyond devastating. My doctor informed me that I would need ongoing treatment to manage the spread for the rest of my life. Despite this news, I decided to make a conscious decision not to research life expectancy. I just refused to let any negative thoughts cloud my mind. So over the next year, my chemotherapy treatments were changed at least 4 or 5 times. My doctor was searching for something that would work, but unfortunately the cancer continued to spread aggressively throughout my bones. By December of 2023, I was experiencing unbearable pain in my back and my ribs, simple movements like standing up just became excruciating. It was to the point where I couldn't bend, I couldn't twist without screaming in agony. It was a horrible time. On New Year's Eve, the pain just became so unbearable that Kevin rushed me to the emergency room. I remember that car ride. The car ride itself was excruciating. Every bump on the road was sending pain waves throughout my entire body. But I wound up being admitted into the hospital, and I was there for 3 weeks. During that time, I was diagnosed with fractures in my back and my pelvis area due to the cancer's progression. To boot, I found out that I had contracted RSV, which is a respiratory virus. That only added to what was already one of the most challenging periods of my life. During those 3 weeks in the hospital, I wasn't getting any better. In fact, I was only getting worse. I went through countless tests, scans. I had 5 days of radiation. And then when I left in a wheelchair, something I never would have imagined because I walked into the hospital on my own. So that was devastating. This next part was crazy. I had a 10-night cruise that was booked a year prior with Kevin. And despite everyone's advice, including my mom's, to stay home, I was determined to go. So just 11 days after being released from the hospital, I went on the cruise. In hindsight, I realized I probably should have stayed home, but I pushed through. I rented a scooter and I had my pain medication with me, and I thought I'll make it work. But truthfully, the experience was extremely stressful, not only for me, but for Kevin as well. My health wasn't improving, and on that trip, I lost control of my bladder 3 times. I was trying to hide my pain, but Kevin could see right through me. So after returning from that cruise, I wound up back in the hospital, and that's when they did a PET scan, and I got more devastating news that my cancer had spread further, and now it's in my legs, in my hips, in my spine, my shoulders. I just remember I thought time stood still. I couldn't comprehend what the doctor was saying. My mind just went blank. Thankfully, Kevin and my daughter were always by my side because I couldn't focus on what was being said. Despite the grim news, I refused to let it break my spirit. I kept my focus on staying positive. I remember a social worker visiting me daily, and on one of the days, I told her how eager I was to just return back to my normal life. The following day, she came into my room with tears in her eyes and asked me if I truly understood that this is a progressive disease. She said, "I just want to make sure that you know that there is no going back to normal and that you're not blindsided when you leave here." I remember her words hit me hard. It took me a moment to compose myself, and I said to her, "I know that that must have been really difficult for you to say, but I don't believe that. I feel that I will be getting back to my normal life. I'll be back to my swimming classes and back to my normal routine." And I remember she gave me a hug and said, "I hope that you prove me wrong." I distinctively remember my doctor telling me, "We don't know what we're going to do next." That was a turning point for me. I decided I am going to get a second opinion, and at the same time, I'm going to try Fenben. I felt I had nothing to lose at that point, so I asked my daughter to bring it into the hospital. I began taking the Fenben secretly, even before my doctors had time to come up with a new chemotherapy plan. Incredibly, the Fenben started working right away. My doctor came into my hospital room with surprising news. my cancer markers had dropped by 50%. I was like, wait, what? I was improving. So I continued with the Fenben, gradually increasing the dosage, and my markers consistently kept coming down. We never did get to change the chemotherapy treatment because my doctor thought it was working, but I knew that it was the Fenben. I did not tell my doctor that I was using the Fenben because I didn't want to feel discouraged in any way, or maybe he would say he wouldn't treat me. So I decided not to tell him. I continued increasing the dosage of the Fenben, and I kept up with going to chemotherapy. I would get infusions every 3 weeks, but this time I was excited to go for my infusions because I would get my marker results and they kept dropping and dropping. And then finally on September 6th of 2024, I got the news. I was not expecting so quickly, but I was expecting it. No cancer, no active cancer anywhere in my body. NED, no evidence of disease. I had planned to tell my doctor about Fenben that day, but he seemed so proud of himself that the chemotherapy treatment that he chose for me worked, and I just couldn't break his heart at that moment to tell him. But I will tell him at my next appointment and see how he reacts. I will be sure to make another video and update you on that. So now I want to share my exact protocol. First, I just want to say I am not a doctor. This is not meant as medical advice. This is just based on my own research and experience. So here is what I did. I started with a supplement called serapeptase. I took 1 capsule on an empty stomach. I waited 30 minutes and then took TUDCA, 500 milligrams, waited another 30 minutes, and then I would have a good breakfast, usually something with healthy fats like eggs, avocado, peanut butter on toast, something like that. And then I would wait 30 more minutes, and that's when I would take the Fenben. I started with the powder form, and now I do the capsules. I purchased all 3 products from Amazon. Initially, I took 222 milligrams of Fenben, 3 days on, 4 days off, and then I would increase the days. The goal is to get to 7 days a week, 2,000 milligrams. The highest dosage I got to was 1,750 milligrams. So from what I understand, serapeptase is a supplement that helps the Fenben attach to the tumors. It breaks them down and eliminates dead cells. This should not be taken if you're on blood thinners. The TUDCA is a liver supplement, and it's important to take because long-term use of Fenben may impact liver function. So be sure to have your liver checked through regular blood work. Now, the Fenben is a dog dewormer, which targets cancer cells by blocking the substances that they need to grow, such as sugar. Unlike chemotherapy, Fenben only attacks the unhealthy cells and leaves the healthy ones intact. So that's my journey and that's my protocol. I hope that my story inspires others who might be going through a similar battle. I've been sharing my story with anyone that's interested, and so far it's been many times, which is why I wanted to make this video. A friend of my mom's, he has lung cancer. He decided to give Fenben a try because he was in bad shape. He hadn't gotten out of bed in over 3 weeks, and everyone around him just feared the worst. Within 2 weeks of taking Fenben, he was up, walking around. Now it's a few months later. He had gained some weight. He was down to 100 pounds, so he put on some weight. and he's doing really well. So I'm keeping track of everyone that I'm telling, and I'm just loving hearing that it's working for people. So what's next for me? I want to continue spreading the word about Fenben. I feel like I've been given a second chance at life, and I would love to help as many people as possible. I also want to start another YouTube channel. It will be a channel designed for women over 50 who want to learn how to sell online full-time or part-time. During my cancer journey, I needed to find a new way to earn a living, and I was not able to work a 9-to-5 job anymore with all of my doctor appointments, chemo treatments, radiation, and not to mention all the side effects that go along with it. So I would love to, help other women that are in similar situations and maybe just need a little boost on how to get started. And I will continue with spreading the word of Fenben. I am also thinking of possibly writing a book. I don't know. I have a new lease on life, and I just want to live it to the fullest. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that I have inspired you, or maybe this can give hope or inspiration to someone who might need it. Share this video. I would love to get the word out there to as many people as possible, and I will keep you posted on my next steps. Until then, be well, stay healthy, and I'll see you soon, my friends.